circles over and over. Every so often I try to take a deep breath, turn to go the other way. Sharon, you know what? Multiples often does circle here. Guys are in a meeting right now with Vigilante.
Okay.
Because I'm doing this, I'm going down to
Okay. Okay. As of right now, there's maybe one or two that might speak, so I don't know that we need to go through this.
We don't need a break.
I hope so.
I'll keep these though for next one. Thanks, Chris. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you all for coming. Yeah. You guys are wonderful. Sharing about your community. Absolutely. No. It is. That's the best part. I know. It's true. He just spent his 35 years here, or whatever it was, 42, 55 years. Very quick pacing and stuff. You're right off that. Very quick, so I think a lot of the quality stuff. So here's our water guys. Hyper. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, both of you guys wear the weird green colors. Just strange. So true. How are you, Sarah? Yeah, I just heard. So. Yeah. Well,
Okay, we have distribution just now.
okay.
It's from the
Okay. Okay.
I've got costs around there.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I asked him this morning. I had a meeting with him from 10 to 11. I was like, "Do you need me to go in?" He's like, "No, we'll wait to see if admin reaches out." So then Doug called me at 12:40. You guys put down there? I was like, "Okay."
You know how that works.
I know.
You expected it.
I'm not
Do you
worried.
want to stand?
I kind of did
Yeah, where do you want
actually.
to sit? I'll stand. Okay, so let's go ahead and, can I bring this up? Yes.
What you
Go
doing
ahead
today,
and-
huh?
I have e-recycling, which will last about 5 minutes.
Are you one of the first on there?
No. Last. Uh-huh. That's gonna be sit
You're
here.
last.
We'll be here with you.
We're all here with you, huh?
We're here to
I figure I would turn the notifications of a Teams chat off, like the noise.
Oh, you? No.
No, it's just some kind of Motorola thing. I don't know. Well, maybe it's a. I don't know what it is. Oh, I'll figure it out, Sarah. I'm pretty.
Are you just like a standing performer now?
Yeah, we got those water bottles ordered. By the way.
There you go.
Good. See you
Are you
then.
gonna sit there? Or do you want to sit? All right, so now you just joined the WebEx meeting. Oh, that's right.
out of everybody that's here, does anybody want to get up and speak for sure today without, on any of the items? Okay, that's fine. Sometimes we do a sign-in sheet, kind of first serve type thing. But there's not as many folks here today, so kind of we're expecting, so thank you for that, guys.
Her boyfriend came up and doubled down.
Was that Steve?
Oh, oh my God. We've got like 3.5 hours to get straight.
No, I've heard that they're good, but certainly not.
And then if you want to do a quick test before, over in
Maybe pitch hydro in the corner. Back there. Oh, come on, hydro. Come on.
keep your video and audio off. If those are by default, will stick for most of you. Okay.
Yes. I know. Of course. Yes, I understand. She's making a lot of attempts towards it, but I'm still here, She sure does. Thanks, Hydro.
So you're going to have to. That's
Thank you as well. Which one do you have?
Hello? Troy?
Yes,
Hey, this is Art. Can you hear me?
I sure
I
can,
guess
sir.
so.
You sound good.
Yeah, it said for me to do another device and I just tried this instead. So
You sound
okie
good,
dokie.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, do you call on us and then you unmute us? Do you control the mute button?
I do not. You do.
Okay, so I'll make sure I'm on mute until they have a question. I'm just on consent. Hopefully I'll stay there.
Probably. Yeah. Thank you, Art.
You
Holly,
bet.
you do have the presentation ball if you'd like to practice. Thanks, Art. Holly, could you share that again, please, and start from the first slide? That looks good. Let's make sure it advances, okay? Excellent. Looks good.
I need to get this microphone. Good. How are you?
Hey, how's it?
I'm just trying to remember how. Exactly. I mean,
That's what they normally say.
we can use this thing, but how, I don't remember how to turn this one on. So that is the button there?
I don't remember the last time we used
I
it.
think that's working. Tess, can you hear me?
There you go.
Thank you.
See,
Yes, you sound good. Thank you.
I'll just leave it on. We can mute it.
That was what's loose. It's working now.
Okay.
If you push that, it should turn on.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is your host, Troy Dunning. We are live and recording.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners Business Meeting for Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. It is 1:31 in the afternoon. Would you all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to a nice, full hearing room. We always like it when a lot of citizens come to join us today, so thank you. Mr. Ingalls, do we have certification for everything on today's agenda?
We do, Madam Chair. My office has reviewed all items on today's agenda, and they all meet legal approval.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. Do any commissioners have any disclosures for items on today's agenda?
I have none, Madam Chair. Thank you.
No, ma'am.
And I have none either. The first thing we have on today's agenda is an employee recognition. And it looks like the first one up is Ruby Richards would like to recognize Sharon Svenson for 13 years of service. Hello, Ruby.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good, thank
Good
you.
to see you all. Oh, yeah. I didn't see Sharon sitting back there, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do this without her. I believe it's 15 years.
15.
Yeah. So 15 years of service, and I had to have a brief conversation with Sharon last week and say, let me know what it was like. Like, what was it when you first got here? And so Sharon has seen tremendous change in our department in her 15 years. She had mentioned that she was hired as an eligibility supervisor with 4 staff, and we have significantly grown since then, as you all are well aware. I've been with the department for 8 years, and so I've had the privilege of working with Sharon during that time, and most recently began supervising her at the beginning of this year. And what really always comes to mind when I think of Sharon is just her incredible talent and gift at remaining organized, her attention to detail, making sure that we are all minding all the little nuances of our everyday work. And so if it weren't for Sharon, I'd be really concerned to see the places that we go awry, because she really helps keep us focused. She has brought us technology to our department that quite honestly we couldn't have transitioned to this pandemic had it not been for all of the work that Sharon had done to bring us technology, get us using it, get us comfortable with it. And so I'm just so grateful that we have her, and hopefully 15 more, but that might be asking a little much. Do you have any comments?
Oh, this has been a great ride. I thank you. Anyone who's worked with me for any short period of time has heard me say that I have always approached my work thinking about 2 things. One, doing what's right for clients, and 2, what's doing right for the county. And every decision I've ever made, everything I've ever done has always been to serve both of those. And so I hope I've done well, and I so appreciate the trust that Doug put in me when I first got here. It was much appreciated and got me going in a great direction, so thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Ruby. Comments from the commissioners?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ruby, for that presentation. And thank you, Sharon, for your 15 years of service. I know we always joke that we want 15 more, but sometimes we do get folks that are here for 3 decades or more. So I want to acknowledge you and also acknowledge our county manager for the incredible selection of what I call a dream team in Douglas County. You said it well, serve our county, serve our clients well, and do the right thing. So you reflect that remarkably. Congratulations on your 15 years.
Yeah, congratulations. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming. And thanks for everything you do. Very much appreciate it.
So Sharon, thank you. What struck me when you were talking is first you said, what's best for the citizen, what's best for the client, and then for the county. And so you really have your priorities in order. That people in human services have a really tough job, I think. You deal with families who are in difficult times, and you're dealing with kiddos who might not be in the best circumstances. And so you're working with them, trying to keep them with their family and keep them safe. And so I think it's really important for the public to understand that fine line that you walk in doing the right thing for the kiddos and the families. So thank you for 15 years. I can't imagine what that must have been like in that role, but we appreciate you in Douglas County. So Sharon, thank you. And next up, we have Janet Herman, who is here to recognize Jim Dietrich on his retirement after 21 plus years.
Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, Jim was hired back in November of 1999. Jim's kind of the guy that doesn't require a pat on the back. He's the one that's always giving credit to everybody else, so he's a great team leader. So it's really nice to be able to recognize him today and list some of the accomplishments that he did. Originally, he was hired to write our MS4, or our guest manual, and run our phase 2 permit program. And so he originally realized that early on that it made sense to use other stormwater permit holders to share resources in order to meet our permit requirements. He was always complaining about it's an unfunded mandate, so he took advantage of that. So he helped us set up what's called the Douglas County Clear Working Group. That's a bunch of stormwater managers and permit holders across the county who work together and still to this day work together to meet our permit requirements. Jim was heavily involved at the state level, helping to negotiate our permit requirements with the Water Quality Control Division. And that was in order to protect the county as well as benefit the county. He was always concerned that the requirements would become overreaching, so he was always there to keep an eye on that kind of thing. He was a member of the Colorado Stormwater Council. He sat on many of their committees, their Permit Compliance Committee, their Technical Advisory Committee, the Legislative Committee, very active there. Jim also represented the county at the Cherry Creek Basin Authority, Chatfield Watershed Authority, and the Bar Milton Watershed Authority. He sat on the Technical Advisory Committee for all of those watersheds as well. And he was also the Douglas County Board alternate to the Cherry Creek Basin. Jim was a great sounding board for and assisted staff with all our internal projects to help us find resolution and solutions to water quality issues. He worked in with our stormwater team on the county's community rating system recertification process for flood insurance. Through that effort, that team was able to reduce or to improve our rating from a 9 back in 2000 to a 5 today, which is pretty difficult to do if you've ever had to work on that process. And what that does is helps get citizens have a reduced flood insurance premium. Well, Jim has a great sense of humor. I don't know if you knew this, but his mom was an English teacher. And of course, it definitely rubbed off on him. So every time one of us in engineering misused a word or a phrase, he took full advantage to jump on that and make a funny out of it. So he should have been a stand-up comic. I think he could have been one. He's got good timing. Jim's dedication has helped the county to build a solid reputation to do what's right in the water quality field. We will definitely miss Jim both personally and professionally. So Jim, I tell you, enjoy your golf game, have a shot of whiskey on us, and safe travels always.
Thank you, Janet.
You're up, Jim.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you, Janet, for that speech. I don't know how long it took her to write it, but she wouldn't run it past me first so I could QA it, but she did pretty good, I thought. I remember starting back in '99. That's back when both Doug and I had hair, so I don't know. Working at the county's been a joyride for me, and working with all 3 commissioners on the basin authorities has been a pleasure. And I appreciate all the help and support that you guys have given me all along. And I have nothing but good things to say, and the people here are outstanding. I'll miss the people terribly, not the daily grind, but the people. And it's been an absolute privilege to be here. So I thank you guys for putting up with me for 21 years.
Thank you, Jim. Comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, who said that engineers can't write a good speech? Wow, that was pretty impressive out of both of you.
She worked really hard at that.
Nicely done, Janet. You know, it's always a pleasure to connect with you, Jim, sitting on the Cherry Creek Basin Water Quality Authority, and your technical expertise is really a regional standard that everyone looks up to and admires. I know that you've at least offered your services, or at least an opportunity to connect with you post-retirement. We may hold you to that. I hope that's okay, but absolutely. I've enjoyed our conversations just about your trips and your travels as well. I wish you the best and wish your family the best.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, I'd like to raise my voice to, if it pleases the board, to move that Jim Dietrich be placed under arrest by the Sheriff's Department, remanded into custody of Janet, and chained to his desk, and we'll figure out some kind of compensation just to keep him fed, because I don't think we can let him go. I always like to joke around that I didn't think I knew a lot about water, because everything I learned about water, I learned throwing irrigation tubes up in Weld County as a kid. And then it turns out I know a lot about water because of, well, I learned everything throwing irrigation tubes up in Weld County. But a significant portion of everything else I've learned about water has come from Jim Dietrich.
Thank you.
And Jim, you were great when I was with the town of Castle Rock, and you were always there to give me a hand and help me out at Cherry Creek and then at Chatfield. So I'm certainly going to miss you. And but I guess actually I need to talk to Jack Cawley about placing him under arrest, because he's a Castle Rock resident, not too far from me. So I'll call Jack. If you see a police car, I'm just going to swing by and just ask a few things. I hope that's okay by you.
That works. That
All
works,
right.
Commissioner.
Rock
Thank you.
on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jim, this is kind of a sad day. You have really helped me. I was on Cherry Creek at first, and I've been on the Chatfield Water Quality Watershed Authority Board, and I had to chair it the first year I was on it.
Yeah.
And so you really helped me understand what was going on. I have learned more about algae blooms and phosphorus
Than you ever want to know.
than I ever wanted to know. But you've been so instrumental in helping me be a better commissioner, so thank you. And I have nothing but best wishes for you and Rose and the rest of your family.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Attorney, it looks like U and V have been pulled because they've been satisfied. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that.
Thank you. I just wanted to be sure. So we are now at the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the requests on all items A through T of the consent agenda. And as you stated, items U and V have been pulled.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. I skipped citizen comment. Are there any citizens here who want to address the board on anything other than the regular agenda item? So if you were here from Tri-County, you will be up next. But if there's anybody here who would like to address the board on anything other than Tri-County, please come forward. Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online?
I have no hands raised, Commissioner.
Thank you, Ms. Dunning. So now we move to regular agenda, and this is item number 4A. This is the Board of County Commissioners of Douglas County with a resolution to opt out of further Tri-County public health orders. Commissioner Teal, would you like to read the resolution, please?
I will be happy to have the resolution with my colleague, the vice chair. But if it pleases the board, Madam Chair, whereas in the first quarter of 2020, the citizens of Douglas County were placed under state and tri-county public health orders to slow the spread and prevent hospital capacity overload, while personnel protective equipment was obtained and the experts received accurate information about coronavirus, that's SARS-CoV-2, and the disease it causes, COVID-19.
Whereas since that time, the public health experts have identified and advised the county of the following key data points. COVID-19 is more likely to cause severe illness in those individuals who are over the age of 70 and individuals with underlying health conditions, the vulnerable. COVID-19 overall has a 98% survival rate, according to the Center for Disease Control, the CDC. Of those deaths, the CDC reports 94% had comorbidities. As of April 9th, 2021, 235 people out of 351,154 people in Douglas County have died with COVID-19, with an average age of 83. The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines developed through Operation Warp Speed are 80% effective against COVID-19 after one dose and 90% effective against COVID-19 after 2 doses. More than 90% of the vulnerable Douglas County citizens over 70 have been vaccinated. And finally, Douglas County has the highest immunization rate of the 3 Tri-County Health Department counties.
Whereas Douglas County citizens have been subject to more than 300 additional executive and public health orders to protect the vulnerable, including the elderly and those with underlying medical conditions, with the interpretation leading to confusion, fatigue, and costly operational charges. And
whereas, despite public health recommendations, the state dial continues to overemphasize positivity and incident rate over severity metrics such as deaths and hospitalizations. And
whereas continued focus on case positivity in the post-vaccination era of the pandemic for vulnerable populations is an inherently flawed public policy when positive cases among those that are highly unlikely to die or be hospitalized, also with not asymptomatically transmit the virus to the vulnerable who have now been vaccinated. And
whereas many peer-reviewed studies conducted by vaccine manufacturers and universities have concluded that currently authorized vaccines are effective against coronavirus variants. And
whereas through engagement with and input from area hospitals, the county has been advised that the hospitals have continued to maintain personnel, personal protective equipment, and supplies necessary to discharge routine functions while maintaining surge capabilities and continue to effectively and efficiently conduct their emergent and elective functions. And
whereas there is more than 29% ICU capacity in Douglas County hospitals as of April 7th, 2021. And
whereas the 14-day rolling average for county citizens' hospitalizations per 100,000 population due to COVID has been less than 2 per day since early December. And
whereas the total hospitalizations for COVID-19 in Douglas County over the course of the pandemic has been less than 1/3 of 1% of the county's total population. And
whereas the success of any efforts to limit the spread of COVID-19 rely mostly on the voluntary, resolute implementation of those efforts by the population, not the enforcement of formulaic, inconsistent, and overbroad government relations. And
whereas, due to the personal responsibility of county citizens, proactive utilization of best practices for public health and safety by businesses, and the dedicated service of healthcare providers, based on Tri-County health data as of April 9th, 2021, there has not been a reported death of a county citizen due to COVID-19 since February 15th. And
whereas, through Douglas County's ongoing engagement with other local and statewide leadership, the Colorado Department of Health and Environment continues to loosen the dial's capacity restrictions and will dissolve the dial into local guidance on April 16th, 2021. And
whereas Colorado lost 260,000 jobs in 2020 and went from 4th lowest in the nation for unemployment to 35th. And
whereas mental health fallout from a year of lockdown has just begun and will continue unless government allows its citizens to return to some semblance of normalcy. And
whereas, pursuant to the November 6, 2020 Tri-County Health Department Board of Health policy regarding issuance of county-wide public health orders, there exists an agreement between the Douglas County Commissioners and Tri-County Health Department that each county will have the ability to opt out of multi-jurisdictional local public health orders. Now, therefore,
be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, State of Colorado, that the county will allow for the full restoration of personal freedoms and responsibilities and business operations on April 16th, 2021, based on current public health data. And
be it further resolved that given current conditions in Douglas County, the board will not accept additional capacity and personal restrictions that may be imposed through the issuance of a local public health order of broad applicability by Tri-County Health Department. And
be it further resolved that the board will continue to actively monitor COVID-19 data trends and collaborate with the state and Tri-County Health Department on prudent, science-driven responses that continue to balance the needs to preserve both lives and livelihoods. And
Be it further resolved that the board encourages county residents, businesses, and visitors to adhere to strong public health recommendations and to continue to implement and voluntarily participate in those activities necessary to continue protecting their health, the health of their families, and the health of our community, including getting vaccinated if they choose, staying home when ill, and supporting those who are at risk of severe illness from COVID-19. And
be it finally resolved that the board hereby opts out of the public health order issued by the Tri-County Health Department on April 10th, 2021, to go into effect April 16th, 2021, pursuant to the November 6, 2020 Tri-County Health Department Board of Health Policy regarding issuance of countywide public health orders. So read, Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas County, Colorado.
Thank you, Commissioners Teal and Layden. We are going to be discussing this resolution today. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is ask the County Attorney, Mr. Ingalls, to outline what this resolution means.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try and keep it simple because I think that's probably what's easiest. This resolution in simple terms would mean, let me back up. The Tri-County Health Order issued by the Board of Health last Thursday essentially would move all 3 counties in Tri-County Health to level blue effective this Friday, Friday the 16th. Level blue on the state's dial that's otherwise going away, and it would keep the 3 counties at that level for 30 days and then move them to what it calls level clear, which is no restrictions, but keep the counties under observation with the possibility of pulling counties back into restrictions. So essentially, the Tri-County Health Order would have Douglas County at level blue restrictions for businesses. They make some clarifications to the dial, but that's basically what the Tri-County Health Order does. This resolution would opt Douglas County out of that public health order. And so there would be no level blue in Douglas County. There would be no level at all. Individuals and businesses would be able to make individual decisions, what restrictions, if any, they want to follow. With respect to other entities like the school district, again, there would be no Tri-County or Douglas County orders that would affect those entities, at least based on this resolution and the Tri-County Health Order dated last Thursday. So in broad terms, that's what this resolution would accomplish. Plenty of discussion to be had, but that is the draft that's in front of you.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. Does this resolution do anything in regard to the governor's mask mandate?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Orders that come from the state, be it executive orders from the governor himself or public health orders issued by CDPHE, would still be in effect. So to the extent there are state orders, this resolution would not affect those orders. Currently, there is a mask order in an executive order from the governor that's effective through at least early May. Also, there is expected to be a replacement CDPHE order or state public health order that would only impact large gatherings. We understand that's going to be defined as gatherings of more than 500 people for events that are not seated events. So we expect some guidance on that from the state. We would not be able to opt out of any state public health orders or executive orders, and this resolution does not purport to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. I think we all just heard an explanation of what is talked about in our resolution that is so confusing, and nobody's really sure what's allowed and what isn't. So before we open up public comment, I'll ask the commissioners if they have any brief comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Teal, for sharing in that resolution with the board. I'll have some final comments. I'm really interested to hear from the citizens that we all represent, and I'm thanking all of you for spending your afternoon with us today. You know, I shared the other day the Hans Christian Andersen tale about 2 weavers that convince an emperor they will make him clothes that are only invisible to unwise people. When the emperor parades down the street, everyone afraid of being unwise lies and says they can see the suit. A child finally breaks everyone's delusion by shouting out, "The emperor is not wearing anything at all." My friends, I ask that you look honestly at the data and break the delusion that ongoing orders really have no clothes. We will continue to monitor the severity on a daily basis, as this board has done with the experts for over a year and a half. But based on the facts that we have before us today, I want to have the courage of that young child and for Douglas County to be the first county in the state to say this pandemic is over.
Thank you, Commissioner Lane. Commissioner Teal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, obviously, the three of us worked on this resolution together. The people here have heard our words. I'd like to hear theirs.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. I will open citizen comment, and what that means is you can come up to the podium here. We will ask that you give us your name, you spell your last name, and give us your address. You will have up to 3 minutes. There will be a timer on the screen here that you can keep track of your time. We just ask that you be respectful of everyone because we want to hear from everybody. So with that, I will open citizen comments. Who would like to be the first? Please come forward. And you're welcome to take off your mask if you're comfortable so we can hear you.
I'm sure you'll be able to hear me. My name is Gary Vavra. I live here in Castle Rock, up in Castlewood Ranch.
Would you please spell your last name and give us your address?
Well, I prefer not to give my address publicly because I don't think I'm going to be in the majority here.
Would you mind spelling your last name?
V as in Victor, A as in Apple, V as in Victor, R as in Robert, A as in Apple.
Thank you, sir.
I don't like these masks either. I don't think anybody does. I think we're all tired of it. However, recent explosions of COVID in Michigan. You have 4 high schools in this county that shut down for 2 weeks. The CDC is reporting that I believe it's 50% or close to 50% of the current people getting the virus are between the ages of 20 and 40. Different than what you reported because earlier it was everybody thought it affects you if you're older, but if you're young, you're immune. And that seems to be changing. The mutants and the virus that is changing is affecting people at a younger age. And of course, the 550 or whatever the number is, over 500,000 that have died, had other, not all, but some had other health conditions. People don't want to believe that COVID did it, but maybe COVID increased the speed of their death. And I think to make a broad statement that, well, we want to be the first to say that we're back to normal, I don't think we are back to normal. The Johnson & Johnson, as you know, was suspended. So it might take a little bit longer to get the herd immunity. So I think that to just say we're going to be the first ones to say we're back to normal is not the thing to do for your citizens, as you talked about with your first person that you were recognizing tonight. She said she does good for the citizens and for the county. Now, if you're trying to make a political statement and say it's time to say we're back to normal so that the majority of Douglas County who may think we're back to normal approves of you, that's not the right thing to do. So I think staying course for another 30 days and seeing what happens isn't that bad a thing to do. I think it's better to err on the safety of caution than to be bold and say we're the first ones out of here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Do you need my address? Do you want me to write it down somewhere?
No, sir, thank you. Troy, is Dr. Fielding online?
One moment, please. I do have Linda Fielding online.
Thank you,
Is that Dr. Lind?
Yes.
Do you want me to promote her?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Dr. Fielding, can you hear us?
She is
Okay,
now
can you
unmuted.
hear me now?
Yes, Dr. Fielding, we could
Okay.
hear you. If you could give us your name.
Okay, My name is Linda Fielding. I am from 5651 Hackney Court, unincorporated Douglas, and have been a resident for over 20 years. My current position is as a physician at the Denver Health Medical Center and as an associate professor at the University of Colorado Health Sciences. I also have been recently appointed to the Board of Tri-County Health. Now, I agree with this resolution and strongly support it for the reasons that the commissioners have read. Also, in my professional opinion, reviewing the data on COVID and its variants in Colorado, which I have done, both with what I have gotten from the commissioners and from what I have seen at Tri-County Health. I do not believe that Douglas County is in any danger of overwhelming its healthcare system or has ever been. I also believe that the commissioners are well equipped to handle any health concerns and certainly are getting enough real-time data if something happens to react. And at this point, I believe strongly that it is time for local control. We are not Arapahoe. We are not Aurora. We are not Adams counties. We have better vaccination rates than they do. I believe we have stronger resource pools. And so there comes a time when, as we use our tools as vaccination, when we look at the very low rate of people being even admitted to hospitals, variants or no variants, I think the time has come to revert back to local control and to put those masks aside when we can and get vaccinated and get on with our lives. And I would be happy to make any further comments or answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Fielding, for your time today. The next person who would like to come forward, please come forward.
Dr. Jim Miller, 886 Half Moon Drive, Castle Rock. I'm familiar with each of you as commissioners. You're aware, at least George Teal for sure, that I've spent 50 years in academia with a research specialty in organizational behavior and theory. And it's rare to find common sense. Again, I emphasize 50 years in academia with a specialty in research. The simple truth is the morbidity rate on any virus, this one and all others included, for the last 30 years suggests that we are being overwhelmed by regulations that have little or no impact on what's actually taking place in our country. Now, I just want to compliment you on a rare step of common sense. I thank you for including me on the email so that I could be here today. Again, for 30 years, studying flu and its variants, and you have to realize the number 19 is significant. There are multiple variants of COVID through the years. And the rates of death for this particular disease is actually lower than other flu epidemics over the past 20 years. So I commend you for this resolution. I think that the insanity has to stop someplace, and I'm glad it's starting here in Douglas County. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Sally Roberts, 15639 East Indian Brook Circle, Parker, Colorado. And I've come here basically on behalf of parents who have high schoolers who have been quarantined over and over because potential exposure, and mostly from a gym class, and therefore they're missing out on being in person for their core essential classes. And I'm wondering, does your resolution then pull us away from Tri-County Health having influence over Douglas County School District's quarantine policy? Can we just have the students having symptoms stay home rather than quarantining hundreds of kids who don't end up getting sick. The percentage of kids getting sick because of a potential exposure is less than 1%. It is so low, and the benefit is actually detrimental. It's a detrimental to hundreds of students who are missing out, whose grades were actually improving, being in person, and now they're struggling again because they have to quarantine. They are not sick, they are healthy students having to quarantine. So does this resolution help Douglas County schools no longer have the quarantine policies?
Mr. Ingles, would you like to clarify that again, please?
Yes, Douglas County does not have any direct authority over either the school district's policies or Tri-County Health's policies with respect to the school district. But to back up, most of what the school district has done thus far has been pursuant to state guidance from the State Department of Education. Moving forward, that control will shift to Tri-County Health and the school district to work together to determine what is best for kids, what's required in the event of a quarantine, that sort of thing. But could Tri-County Health issue an order that affected only the school district? I think the answer is yes, they could, and this action today would not affect that.
Okay, thank you for your clarification.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Who's next? Please come forward, give us your name, spell your last name and your address, please.
Hi, County Commissioners. My name is Kim Rodell. It's R-O-D-E-L-L. I am at 10515 Humboldt Peakway in Parker. First of all, thank you for this resolution. And I think some of the things we're missing is I agree with the science. We're part-time residents in Grand County, and we had our coroner up in Grand County make national news because we had a murder-suicide a month previous, the couple had COVID. And their death certificates were labeled as COVID rather than gunshot wounds. And it kind of shows you the information we're being fed. Your resolution said, or somebody said, of those who die from COVID-related. How many people die of COVID? And I agree with the science. My issue is we're seeing an uptick in drug overdoses, suicides, alcoholism. This doesn't affect, this is not just a disease. The point that we have gotten is the cure is worse now. And having this mask mandate with no in-person, not being able to see people smile, people's concerns, people's emotions is detrimental. And I am so thankful that I don't have kids in the Douglas County school systems anymore. But I've watched my 2 college-age students struggle tremendously because of the lockdowns. So I applaud you. This goes beyond the disease, and it is absolutely time that Douglas County gets out of this, or we adopt this resolution. So thank you so much for all you do, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Ms. Rodell. The next speaker, please come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Macklin Stringer, 3455 Meadow Glen Lane, Sedalia.
And how do you spell your last name, please?
S-T-R-I-N-G-E-R.
Thank you.
Pardon me. I'll keep it short. Public policy is best at the local level. I approve with what the commissioners have with the resolution. And I want to voice the concern that you continue to work to keep control at the local level rather than allowing the school board, the state, Tri-County take control of our local policies. That's all I want to say is keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mr. Stringer. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Lisa LaBeouf, spelled L-A-B-O-U-F. My address is 5718 Glenstone Drive in Highlands Ranch. And I just want to piggyback a couple of things that they had said. My first concern is with the cases. We keep talking about cases, 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 and we're not focusing on the seriousness of the disease or lack thereof. On January 20th, the WHO actually came out and admitted finally, after we've been talking about it for almost a year, that the cycle thresholds have been extremely too high on these PCR tests that are determining everything that we have decided thus far on how we're going to approach this pandemic. So they decided, okay, now we're going to bring them down to 2025 as the recommendation. I don't know if that's a question for Dr. Fielding. Are we following those guidelines with the PCR tests? Are we even looking at the cycle thresholds? Those cycle thresholds are extremely too high, they're extremely too sensitive, and so we talk about all these cases and the school closures. How many of these actual cases are actually symptomatic and getting anything more than the common cold or flu? And we are affecting countless lives, our children's education, their social and emotional well-being. My daughter in elementary school is going to school every day with a mask, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I have stacks of studies showing the ineffectiveness of masks as well as the harm that it is causing to ourselves and especially our children. Not, again, socially, emotionally, psychologically, as well as physically. And that is my concern as a resident of Douglas County. Thank you guys so much for the resolution. I appreciate all that you're doing.
Thank you, Ms. LaBeouf, and my neighbor. Next speaker.
Okay, my name is Mike Soliday, Soliday, just like holiday. I live at 2935 Echo Park Drive out in Crystal Valley. I wasn't going to do this when I got here, but I want to commend you all for getting rid of this ridiculous mask stuff. And I also want to reiterate that just because it's lifted, if you want to wear a mask, doesn't mean you can't. So those of us that choose not to appreciate that we are given that freedom, because again, let's face it, government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. So I want to commend you on getting out of Tri-County Health. What happens in one neighborhood doesn't happen in another. So, again, as Mr. Layden said, there's a 98% survival rate. I am a COVID survivor. So is my wife. We both had it at the same time. And so it's, I think a lot of it, as you said, sir, was, there's underlying issues that COVID kind of enhanced and, causes these deaths. And, as the great doctor said, the flu, regular influenza has, far more issues than what we're dealing with right now. And the only thing I've seen that's happened is the flu has kind of died since COVID. Everything is COVID now. You get, you sneeze and people look at you like you're a walking plague. So I just want to say thank you for, your common sense and your will to, stand up and say enough is enough and let people get back to living. And I also want to say, as far as the statistics go with COVID, we've all been quarantined, but it's always been what I was taught, that you quarantine the sick, not the healthy. And also, if everybody's quarantined, why has DUIs gone up since COVID lockdown? Again, as the good lady said about, all the suicides and everything else, it's, this is just creating more of a pandemic rather than helping it. It's helping one, they think, which I'm not seeing that, and creating more epidemics and pandemics. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Soliday. Next speaker.
My name is Bob Ross. Thank you for this opportunity. I live at 150 ROSS 15943 East Summit Fox Avenue in Parker. And I appreciate what you said, Commissioner Layden. I feel that we as adults, we as community people that care about our community, we want to protect those with underlying issues. We want to understand, why are those hospitalized? Those that are hospitalized, why do they suffer, to a different degree? And if we were getting that kind of information to where we could then make sure we were protecting those and coming alongside those and caring for those. But these numbers of just reporting who tests positive, when so few of those are hospitalized, but that's the focus, that's what's politicized. And I think that we are being cheated as a community and a public, that if we're given the right information so that we can make better decisions, then we as a community and we as family members and parents and grandparents can do better by our families and our community. So I hope that what comes from this, and I do commend you for doing this, it's time for someone to step up. And I don't think it's about being first, even though I always love to be first, but it's about doing the right thing. And I'm just glad that you guys are taking a stand, and please help us get educated so we can make better decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Hi, my name's Dan Brown, BROWN, 9649 South Hackberry Street, Highlands Ranch. I want to commend our elected officials for standing up for the community, to not paying attention to the rhetoric that we hear and paying attention to the true science behind your decision. We were originally told that we were supposed to flatten the curve. Well, we flattened the curve, and then the goalposts continued to move and the metrics continue to change, and the lockdowns have done more harm than good. As other people have talked about, the overdoses, the mental health issues, it's time that we start moving towards normalcy. Again, I applaud the three of you in your decisions, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Do we have another speaker? Please come forward.
My name is Lynn Pomeroy. I live at 160 North Holcomb Street in Castle Rock. My last name is spelled P-U-M-R-O-Y. Am I forgetting anything? Okay. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. But I just want to encourage you and thank you. I have had a really bad attitude, especially the last few months, about wearing masks. It has been very stressful. But I would like to just give an amen to what has been said, but I would also like to approach it from a little bit different perspective. I was in the hospital 3 times in the last year, and not one of those times had anything to do with COVID. So I just want people to realize that they have presented such a fear factor in this whole pandemic and epidemic situation. And I know this might be seen as a negative. I do not do vaccines. I have not done even a flu vaccine since I was about 20 years old. I possibly have had the flu once or twice. I'm 72 years old now, and I survived those times. So I just want, again, to just encourage you to follow through on this. I do think that we as adults need to be treated as adults and to be given an opportunity to act like adults. I can make my own decisions about who I want to spend time with, where I go, where I don't go, if I want to wear a mask or don't want to wear a mask. So that would be my only comment. I am not afraid of COVID any more than I am of anything else. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pomeroy. Are there any other speakers? Please come forward.
Dana Harmon, Harmon as in Harmony minus the Y, Harmon, 5053 North Crowfoot Valley Road. Commissioners, thank you. General public, thank you. I'm going to begin, and it's going to be brief, but I want to begin with a quote. It says, "The ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of all." That particular quote comes from John F. Kennedy. It's our responsibility to know what to do. I want to add my voice to the chorus of support for this resolution. We as citizens, like Kennedy said, have the right but the responsibility to know what to do. And we can make that local decision, and the most local of all decisions is within our own homes. We have so many mitigating circumstances that people do not know and cannot legislate, and as a result, we make the best decisions for ourselves and our kids. So thank you, commissioners, for this resolution. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. Who's the next speaker?
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Katrina Jennings, Jennings. My address is 761 Twin Oaks Road, Castle Rock, 80109. And, can we hold you? Yeah? Okay. Not trying to milk it too much, just wanted to explain why I'm late. So I'll keep it short and personal because it sounds like the audience here is very well informed, and I imagine I missed a lot of very good comments before I came. But I wanted to say I came, sorry, I'm also 7 months pregnant, so everything makes me cry. But
I can understand that.
Thank you. But I have to say I think I would have cried anyway when I saw the resolution that you guys put forward, because I have been fighting for a year to give my daughter a normal childhood. And we are in a very lucky position, I think, with our age and where we live. Thank God we live in Douglas County, that we've been able to do that pretty well, but it's getting harder, and it's been a long time. And my daughter loves places like the zoo, and she loves people. She loves to talk to people at the grocery store, and she knows that the masks are weird. She tells me a lot that it's weird. We're expecting another one. I've seen what happens to kids who are born in the middle of all of this. She has a cousin who's almost a year old that she hasn't met because their family is afraid and holed up in Denver. And I don't want my next child to be born into that. And the fact that there might be a light at the end of this tunnel, at least for this county, means a lot to me. So I just wanted to come and say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jennings. Are there any other speakers in the room? Please come forward, ma'am. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sharon Mancini, Mancini. I live at 4802 Gould Circle in Castle Rock. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for putting this together. I'm a 40-year veteran nurse in the neonatal intensive care nursery in a huge hospital system in downtown Denver. I can report to you personally, we have not seen that one case amongst any of our babies, and we get babies that are born at 22 weeks all the way up to 40 weeks. We've had babies that are born by emergency C-sections to mothers that were so severely ill with COVID that they were on ventilators, and the C-sections were done to save the mother's lives. Not one baby was positive, not one. I've seen nurses that have come down with COVID. They have described it as a bad cold. I know in our ICU we've had severe cases where the patients didn't make it. I've heard reports from respiratory therapists of the type of secretions that come up from the endotracheal tubes from patients that have COVID. Yes, it does exist. Does it exist to the point that we have to destroy people's lives, destroy the economy, destroy people's families? This is ridiculous. This has to stop. The hospitals were not overrun with patients. At the beginning, no, we did not have enough PPE for the staff. I can attest to that. As time went on, we were able to get more. The staff are fully protected. I have to wear one single mask all day, 14 hours a day, in an effort to try to protect other people. I don't worry about COVID myself. It's not an issue. As far as I'm concerned, it's the hospital policies. Again, the hospitals, at least in the division that I work in, were not overrun. In fact, many of the hospitals have taken a huge financial hit because of this. I've seen nurses that were laid off in other hospitals because their departments weren't getting the patients in for normal care that they would have normally had. When they talk about, ICUs were overrun after, they opened things up. Well, that's because patients put their surgeries off for a number of months so that they could feel safe coming to the hospital again. That's why the ICU rates were up. It wasn't because we had more COVID cases. So again, I thank you for putting the freedom back to the people. Let us make the decisions. Let us exercise the personal responsibility and accountability to do what each one of us feels is right to protect ourselves, to protect our families, and protect our communities. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Mancini.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Lillian Adams at 3010 Dragonfly Court. I am here I was here to find out a little more information on what's going on with Douglas County school boards and why is it that my children, I feel like they're being sequestered. Mr. Engels did clarify that there's nothing that Douglas County government can do concerning Douglas County School District. How disappointing. I pay taxes. We pay taxes. How is this possible that my child cannot go to school in person? I mean, the system is not made for online learning. And come to find out, one school is being called out for quarantine while the other ones are still in person learning within a 1 to 2 mile radius. I think that's unacceptable. And unfortunately, I'm very disappointed. I am happy to know that we want to open up and we're going to, but at the same time, where does the Douglas County School District lies here? So I feel like we're being sequestered, or however you want to call it. It's a little disappointing, just like the lady before me came. Her kids, and my kids. So I am a taxpayer, and they are getting my taxes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Is there anyone else here? Here we go. Thank you.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Okay.
We can hear you just fine. Just talk loud.
Okay. My name is Jamie Woldridge. I don't really want to give my address. I live in Castle Pines.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Yes, Wooldridge. I myself did not know about this until this morning. I was just having lunch with my dad down in Castle Rock, and we saw it, and honestly, it was the best news that I've seen in forever. And so I just want to applaud you guys. Thank you so much for your strength. I have 4 kids myself in Douglas County schools. I second what she said and the other lady. It's heartbreaking seeing what's happening. I'm also an educator. I'm a school counselor. I took this year off because I had to. I hadn't, I have 4 kids at 4 different levels, and there's just no possible way to do it. I'm terrified to go back because of the trauma of what's going to happen. I don't know. The inconsistencies that I'm seeing with the district, thank you so much for clarifying that Tri-County Health really has no power over the district, because that's not what they say. I've actually spoken at the board at the meetings twice, and they absolutely defer to Tri-County Health and the state guidelines as to why they're making the decisions. So it would be really nice if there was a clear answer as to who was making those decisions, because we are handcuffed. And, I'm really in this weird position where I feel like, where's my loyalty go towards? Because I am an educator and I want to continue to do that and I want to help. But I also have 4 kids, and seeing what's happening to my kids and the kids in the community is absolutely heartbreaking. And, the virus is a real thing, and I get it. But what's happening to the kids in the community is happening to all of the kids in the community. And it's devastating. It's developmentally, it's damaging them academically, socially, emotionally. And these are years that they're not going to get back. And they're, quite frankly, they're years that we're not going to get back as parents too. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. I'm actually counting down. I have a high schooler, and I continuously think about what I can't do with him. All the summers and the different things in the zoo with my toddler or whatever, and just all the things. It's just devastating. So anyway, I could go on, and I'm so proud of myself for not crying. Thank you so much for your strength. Really, it was like a bright spot in my day, and I've been avoiding like the news and everything because it's just depressing and fear-mongering, and I'm sick of it. And I'm sick of just going to the grocery store and hearing, don't forget to wear your mask, and on the radio, don't forget to wash your hands. We know, we're adults, we've got it, we're good, okay? So thank you for having the strength. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Woldridge.
My name is John Rodell. I live at 10515 Humboldt Peakway in Parker, Colorado. I want to applaud you guys, commissioners, for actually looking at the science and the data differently. We, all of us, have been having the wool pulled over our eyes by mass media, FUD, fear-mongering, and statistics, which you can create a statistic to support any point of view that supports their points of view. I highly suggest you watch a movie called The Social Dilemma. You're being manipulated by Facebook and Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. I don't touch any of that crap anymore. Sorry. It would be good, I think it would be a good move on the part of the county commissioners to go through the data that you elaborated, Abe, and provide that to all the constituents as why we're not following this set of data because we think it doesn't actually reflect the real story, and we're using this and why. And it's still science, and the medical community has already backed that up, and I'm sure they will continue to back that up. Have them chime in on that as well. The reason I say this is because first gentleman that stood up, there's going to be folks, Douglas County's largely, one side or the other. I don't care if you're liberal or conservative, but no matter what you guys decide to do, whether you decide to pass or reject, you're going to piss people off. Some's going to say it's too much. Some's going to say it's not enough. There's not going to be, you govern, right? That's your road to hoe. But I think you got to try to actually bridge the gap. This entire country, all the way down to the city level, the county level, the state level, the entire federal government, between the election and COVID has been manipulated by mass media to believe what they want them to believe. And it's created a dichotomy in this country that it's never seen before. How do we get back to being we and not me? I want us to be we. I love this place. It's the greatest place in the world, in my opinion. And anything that you can do to get us back to we, I think that we have to do, each and every one of us, so that, we think globally, we act locally. And that's what I would like to see you guys do. Thank you very much for your decision and your resolution. My name is John Rodell. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Rodell. Next speaker.
County Commissioners, thank you for this resolution. My name is John Schrag, S-C-H-R-A-G. I live up the canyon, up in the mountains, towards Sprucewood. I'm 66 years old, as is my wife. I got the COVID pretty bad in December. She got it, not as bad, but thankfully, we're part of the 98+% who got well from it. I think we should err on the side of liberty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schrag. Any other speakers in the room? Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online who would like to address the board?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. I have several. Len Witten will be our first speaker. Len, you are unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm speaking against the board's resolution to opt out of the further Tri-County public health orders, even though I understand that your decision has already been made and was, I'm sure, made quite a long time ago. This resolution is filled with so many contradictions, muddled points, and I'm sorry, I will pause and say my last name, Whitten, first name Len, and I live in Highlands Ranch. To continue, this resolution is filled with so many contradictions, muddled points, and obvious ideologies that it would take longer than my allotted time to discuss them all, so I'm only going to address three of the more obvious ones. To begin with, you've decided to opt out of further public health orders, even though you have no idea what they might be, supposedly based on information and facts that could not yet exist. You are literally opting out of unknown public health orders. Second, a full page of the resolution is devoted to making a point of how you are listening to public health experts, but you then immediately discount the data as irrelevant, like how there is only a 2% death rate, and that 94% of those people had other issues anyway, and the average age is 83. You seem upset that there are so many health orders to protect the vulnerable, who you simplify as the elderly and those with comorbidities. Thirdly, as you have consistently said in the past, you believe we should focus actions based solely on severity and hospitalizations. And so you take another page of the resolution to make the case. Unfortunately, you must know that these are lagging indicators. We are not post-vaccine in addition. The whole point of positivity rates is to target actions to prevent hospitalizations and deaths. You think that if the ICUs are not full, we must be doing okay. And anyway, those are probably the ones with the comorbidities or the elderly, I guess. In spite of what Commissioner Layden said, the pandemic is not over, and simply stating that it is does not make it over. Additionally, the flu is not worse, and I think we know that. We all know that. Douglas County cases are 27% above where they were just 2 weeks ago. The positivity rate is high. 1 in 14 residents have been infected. Since cases have increased, deaths will probably show an increase soon as well. Our health officials have said we are beginning a fourth wave. I totally believe it would be absolutely awesome if COVID-19 was controlled by voluntary, resolute efforts and personal responsibility. Totally get that. But that only works when there's a leadership that provides citizens with real data and that actually works with the public health officials. Pandemics are once-in-a-lifetime events, hopefully, and they require our leadership to work closely with and publicly support our health officials, the ones we have had a successful relationship with for over 70 years.
Mr. Whitten, would you wrap up your comments, please?
I have one more sentence. I wish that this Board of County Commissioners had devoted even half as much time and effort in fighting this pandemic as they have to fighting the governor and state and local health officials and mask and mandates. But you choose to argue and divide at every opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Whitten. Ms. Dunning, who's our next speaker, please?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Kim Ross. Kim, you are unmuted.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Kim Ross, R-O-S-S, 8780 Steeplechase Drive in Franktown. And I have a fitness business in Highlands Ranch. And I'm happy to be here as a representative of the business community. I'm sure there are thousands of business owners applauding this resolution and applauding the efforts that this board has made during the COVID crisis. I want to thank you first for that attention, especially Commissioner Thomas, as our business is running in her district, has actually visited us, has listened to endless ideas of how we can operate safely. Tri-County Health, on the other hand, has turned a deaf ear and has enacted regulations that make absolutely no sense for our industry or many others. Our goal is to bring health and well-being to our citizens we can do so safely. The county has helped us in tough economic times to install air purification systems. They have enacted variances that make more sense for various businesses, faith-based establishments and others to operate much more rationally than the government and tri-county health regulations would allow. So this is, I see, as just another positive step in the right direction. And I would say and applaud you for the immense amount of effort that you have put to help our businesses operate in a safe and healthy manner. You're not fighting government, you're helping our economy, you're helping our employees, you're helping our citizens. Thank you for that. At this moment, just to conclude, with vaccination, with, as you've heard many people in this room even say, people who have had and survived COVID, there is no set of government regulations that can deal with the high number of different variables and variances that we have. An individual has to assess their own safety and willingness to enter a business. The business has to be responsible for protecting that customer and serving that customer in the way that they best fit. But at the end of the day, it's up to the customer to decide whether to walk through the doors and use that business. And it's up to the business leaders to do the best they can to serve their customers appropriately. We're ready to do that. We've been doing that, and regulations will no longer help us do that in any way. Thank you for your support. I endorse this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Ms. Dunning, the next speaker, please.
I have Robert Marshall. Mr. Marshall, you are unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Bob Marshall, M-A-R-S-H-A-L-L. Live at 2 Jackrabbit Place, Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Commissioners, thank you for letting me address you today. And, I understand the desire of the commission and the Douglas County residents to distance themselves and opt out of the Tri-County public health orders. But I'm concerned that your resolution's calling is not just due to the potential differences as between Douglas County and other counties in the Tri-County Health Agreement. But your resolution, you says you are going to look to the data and science-driven responses to make decisions as to Douglas County's own unique situation. If so, I respectfully request that the commissioners refer to the rolling data from the previous 2-week period that shows Douglas County with the highest infection rate in the entire metropolitan region and the 4th highest in the state with 35 infections per 100,000 people. We're currently only behind Pitkin, Summit, and Eagle County. We're experiencing an aftershock hangover from the spring ski season. So although Douglas County did quite well in 2020 and held an infection rate below its peer counties, that's no longer true today. Additionally, these new variants are more virulent to the young, both in the transmission and severity, and being blasé about the survival rate is very short-sighted, as the long-term effects of those infected but who survive is unknown. I strongly suspect, however, the damage done to the lungs of those who survive are likely going to be more susceptible to pneumonia and other pulmonary diseases as they age. Dr. Fielding's comment that the current variants is all based on today's data on how much of a threat they are, not what is coming. And the other speaker's comment that this virus is less deadly is true, but that's what makes this virus so insidious, is because of its latency. People who are healthy are becoming vectors and going about. That's why there's restrictions on the general population, because this is a general virus in nature. It is not as virulent as avian flu or the like, which immediately has symptoms and you can quarantine the individual. Therefore, I strongly urge that if the commission decides to opt out of the orders of the Tri-County Public Health Organization, that it not just have everyone throw off their clothes to the wind and start running through the streets naked, crying freedom, but that we at least have minimally invasive and effective procedures and measures to continue, such as a requirement for masks and face coverings while in indoor public accommodation areas, and some basic capacity restriction based upon square footage or cubic feet or the fire code. We certainly can't live in a lockdown environment indefinitely, and we need to return to some semblance of normalcy as quickly as possible. But to throw all the precautions to the wind rather than not running through the finish line when we're so close to the end, that's just foolish. So if you opt out, I do ask that you consider minimally invasive procedures on your own. The idea that the state has the power to take measures to include full quarantine during a pandemic for an infectious disease is so basic to the founding fathers that Chief Justice Marshall, in the unanimous ruling of Gibson versus Ogden in 1824, simply referred to it as one basic power of the state.
Thank you,
And one of the
Mr. Marshall.
basic
Can you wrap up your
responsibilities.
comments, please?
Yeah. So I urge you not to just abdicate, but only for the popular choice, but do make the right choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Ms. Dunning, who's our next speaker, please?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have only a first name on this one, Melissa calling in. Melissa, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, it's Melissa Weber, W-E-B as in boy, E-R, at 339 Tamasoa Place, and I support the resolution. The mantra we hear is follow the science. What about the science of economics? I will not be surprised if the death, disease, suffering, harm, and misery from the lockdowns will outweigh any lives saved. The data that I have seen shows that the lockdowns and the mask mandates do not work. Especially just recently, we are seeing the surge in Michigan. So thank you for your courage, commissioners. I fully support you, and thank you for showing the virtue of courage and representing our interests, and for the vulnerable people suffering from the lockdowns who do not have a voice right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Ms. Dunning, is there anyone else?
Yes, Commissioner. Finally, I have Mayor Jeff. Mayor, what is his last name of Parker? Cannot see his name on the attendee list. I apologize. Go ahead. You are unmuted, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor Jeff Toborg from the town of Parker. My address is 20120 East Main Street. And Commissioners, I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you today, but I just want to say I am so thankful that we have a board of leaders sitting in Douglas County for such a time as this. I want to thank you all for understanding that the proper role of government is to do exactly what you're doing, and that's to protect the individual rights. I've read through your resolution, and I can honestly say I support it because it doesn't take away anybody's individual rights. If you're a business owner and you want to open up your business fully, that's your right. If you want to be back in school, if you want to wear a mask, if you want to continue to quarantine and isolate, it's all your right and it's all within there. So I appreciate your understanding that the individual rights are paramount and must be protected. I also want to say, Commissioners, I appreciate that you are standing up for my community and all of our communities, for our education, and certainly for our folks that are suffering with mental illness, either before the pandemic and it's worsened or because of this pandemic. It's a real factor. We deal with it every day here in Parker, and I know you see it countywide. Lastly, I just want to say on a personal note, you are folks that I consider friends. I respect all three of you immensely, and I just want to say I thank you for your partnership, your leadership, and your commitment to Douglas County, to the people of Parker, and for standing up for what we all know is right. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
That does complete our list, Commissioners.
Ms. Dunning, is there any other speakers?
I have no other hands raised. That does complete our list.
Thank you. With that, I will be closing citizen comment. And I will bring it back to the board for discussion.
Madam Chair, thank you. And thank you to all of the citizens, both here in person with us and online. I have to tell you, I always say this, but I'll say it again. We work for you, not the other way around. And it is such an honor to hear from each of you. I know that this has been an incredibly difficult time. So I thank you for the sacrifices that each of you has made and for sharing your hearts and minds with us today, even those that may disagree. You know, I was at a park this last weekend with my family, and a word came to my mind, and the word was emerge. My heart swelled watching the moms and dads and young people, old people, dogs and friends gathering together, smiling, laughing, and living their lives again. Instead of social distance, it was social connectedness. Instead of masks, it was smiles and laughter out of beautiful, uncovered faces. Look, I know the virus is real, but so are a lot of risks in life, like driving a car on a highway that we take on every day. It's time for us to use some common sense and free ourselves and emerge from COVID-19. You know, I heard a little bit about concerns about a fourth wave and more positivity. And this is something that this board has heard for a year and a half. And it is so important to bifurcate between positivity and severity. We know that this fourth wave is primarily among young people, and young people almost never experience hospitalization and death from COVID-19. The number of deaths that we've had in Douglas County in the ages of 0 to 18 is 0. So I want to continue to reflect on that data. And I also want to share that this is personal for me. This is we're all friends here, so I'll share something personal from my life. You know, I really respect the gentleman that first stood up. He's probably around the same age as my late father. My dad was really concerned this last year. He said, you know, he would rather die than get COVID-19. And he listened to the media, he listened to the reports. He was desperately afraid of going to the doctor's office because of fear of contracting COVID-19. On November 14th of this year, he died. And it wasn't of COVID-19, it was from a massive heart attack. And I wish he would have gone to the doctor's office, because they would have diagnosed him with hypertension and he'd be on blood thinners and with us today. So for those that believe that this is political, sir, I will tell you categorically that is untrue. I make decisions based on data and facts, and I'm very thankful to live in a county where that is honored. So I thank you again for coming here today, and I appreciate my fellow commissioners for their comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. Commissioner Teal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for coming. Abe, you said it really well. I mean, we work for you. You don't work for us. The purpose of government in America is outlined in the preamble of the Constitution. It's the whole purpose. It's the whole reason. There's a lot of other words in the Constitution, but provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. And I feel like we've lost that last point in this last year. I don't think we've lost it here in this room. I know I didn't lose it with my colleagues down the street when I was on the Castle Rock Council last year when the epidemic was first coming up. But yeah, we've lost that in our society. And I'll admit it right now. Yeah, this is a step towards liberty. This is a step towards freedom. Because when that happens, the responsibility goes to you and all of us. And it's that personal responsibility that I think we've lost in these efforts that have been foisted on us from above to come in line and follow guidelines that are not guidelines at all. Actually, they're laws. They're laws that we were not given the opportunity to vote on individually, but they're laws that came and crashed down on many of us this year. And I'm glad we're taking this step. I'm so happy to hear that there are so many of you that agree with us. But it was a step I was willing to take on my own with my colleagues in order to get back to that concept that we're not just here to provide for the common defense with, you know, we have one of our sheriff's deputies in the back. We're not just here, as you saw earlier, we were honoring one of our long-term employees with Health and Human Services. And then one of our long-term employees out of engineering who does water quality for us, because that promotes the general welfare. But I'm glad we're doing this today, and I'm so glad to hear the support of so many of you so that we can get back to securing the blessings of liberty here in Douglas County, Colorado.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. We are here today because the Governor Polis allowed us to do this today. We have had many conversations in the last year about how can we limit the restrictions on our citizens so that they can make their own decisions. Commissioner Teal was not here last summer, Commissioner Layden was. And we had many conversations when our numbers were so very low about letting people make their own decisions. And it was frustrating to write emails to many people every day saying, we do not have the authority as county commissioners to allow you to make your own choices because the governor has restrictions on us with consequences if we try to help you live your own lives. The governor has decided to devolve the dial as of Friday, April 16th. And when I first saw that date, I thought that's pretty funny because we're all going to pay income taxes on April 15th, and then on April 16th, we get freedom. But the federal government has switched that to May 17th now, so we have a little extra time to pay our taxes. But the point is that we are only here today because the governor has given us the ability to do this. Now, Tri-County Health has tried to keep us back on the dial for 30 more days. And because of an agreement that we, the county commissioners, negotiated with Tri-County Health in November of last year, we agreed to stay with Tri-County Health until January of 2023 with the understanding that we could opt out of any public health order that they made that we did not agree with. So I just want you all to know that this is the first opportunity that we have had to be here today to do this. If we had been able to do this earlier, I suspect that we would have done that. We have been wanting to do this for a long time. And I'm going to just reflect a few comments that we heard from the podium. One gentleman said that we've heard about numbers and numbers and numbers, but what he wanted to hear was about what we could do to provide care for our community, to make better decisions for others. He talked about his grandkids and talked about needing to get educated, so we made good decisions. We heard over and over people make comments such as, I just want to be treated as the adult that I am. We had amazing citizens come up here and cry and tell us what their life has been like for the last year. And we had medical people stand here and tell us of their personal experiences over the last year or the last 50 years that support our decision. I think the most heartbreaking for me was the counselor who stood here with 4 children and said she does not know what trauma she will be facing when she goes back to school because of what we have done to our children. Last year, Commissioner Teal and I were running for office, and one question that I was asked often was, what was I most concerned about going forward as a county commissioner? And I consistently said, we have no idea what we have done to our children. We don't know what we have taught them. We don't know what we have done to them with masks. And we have taken a part of their life from them that they will never have back. And I think that is the true tragedy of why we are here today. We heard a gentleman talk about we instead of me. And I think that this is a good opportunity for us to come together as a we, making individual decisions for ourselves, but deciding what is best for our community as well. My final comment is that we had a businessman who said, basically, this is what it comes down to. As a businessman, I have a responsibility to my customers, but my customers have a responsibility to themselves. And that is why we are here today, and I'm looking forward to the next step. So thank you for everyone being here and your attention.
Madam Chair, unless there's further debate on the board and it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, Colorado, resolution to opt out of further tri-county public health orders based on current public health data and the state devolution of the COVID-19 dial.
And I'm honored to second that motion.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And that motion carries. Thank you. So I think we will take a 5-minute break so that all of you can leave. I'm not sure you want to hear for the rest of the hearing. But thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Friday the 16th.
Friday the 16th.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and
Test, microphone test. A little bit. Can you hear it though? Okay.
Commissioners, this is your host. We have returned and are live and recording.
So I didn't end the last meeting with the gavel. I won't start it with the gavel. We just needed to help people leave in an orderly manner. So we're back on the record at 3:13 in the afternoon, and we are on with item B, which is the intergovernmental agreement between Lone Tree and Douglas County. And for staff, is it you, Steve?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm here today to present a request from the City of Lone Tree for a contribution from Douglas County for improvements to Crooked Stick Trail. Those aren't working for me. I apologize again, Commissioners. There we go. So the request today is for the approval of an IGA between Douglas County and the City of Lone Tree in the amount of $150,000 for improvements to Crooked Stick Trail. So the City of Lone Tree is working on improvements to the roadway in that area. They are providing the design and construction for the project. This project also will include 21 additional parking spots along Crooked Stick that will serve users of Bluffs Regional Park. The total project price is $350,000, and this voluntary one-time contribution is for $150,000. General idea of the map where this work will take place. Phase 1 of the project was the improvements at the intersection there at Yosemite and Crooked Stick, which included a stoplight and some crosswalks in that area. So phase 2 is moving from the intersection there towards the entrance to the park. In that area, there has been spillover due to the popularity of Bluffs Regional Park into the Bluff Mount community, and hopefully the additional 21 spaces will alleviate some of that conflict. So to kind of end it up here, staff supports the approval of the 2021 IGA with the City of Lone Tree. One-time contribution of $150,000 for road surface renovations and parking improvements of Crooked Stick Trail. Chair, for any questions.
Questions for Mr. Schultz?
Mr. Schultz, great presentation. I have no questions for you. Thanks.
I have one question for you, Steve. So the county is paying $150,000 to get this project done in Lone Tree. What fund is that money coming from?
This is coming from Park Sales and Use Tax, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. No other questions for Steve. I'll open it up for citizen comment. Are there any citizens who would like to address the board on this topic? Seeing no one come forward, I'll bring it back to the board for a decision.
Madam Chair, if there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Lone Tree and Douglas County regarding a financial contribution of $150,000 for the Crooked Stick Phase 2 roadway project.
I'll second and ask to speak in favor of the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Listen, going through the packet, and thank you for your presentation, Steve, but going through the packet, I mean, we just had a big issue. Our prior agenda item was talking, a big move towards recovering from COVID. One of the reasons why I'm in support of this is we know that Lone Tree, of all the municipalities in Douglas County and the government entities in Douglas County, has really taken it on the chops with the restrictions on businesses. So I know this is a pretty big ask. I mean, this is almost half the total cost for the county to help out Lone Tree with this, but I'm in support. I mean, it's a good project, and the reality is, we can take some of these actions to help out one of our municipalities that has had a tough time. So I do speak in favor of the motion.
Thank you. Also, we know that Lone Tree has asked for a share back in the open space tax. So this is another example of how they get share back from that sales tax, even though they are not part of what's allowed through the ballot. So we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Steve, you're doing a really nice job. You've been in this position not quite a year.
8 months, Commissioner.
Yeah, you've really grown into it nicely. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, I'm the new guy. If you'd never told me that, I would have thought he's been doing this for years now. I'm even more impressed. Well done, Steve.
Thank you, sir.
And item number C, this is the electronics recycling contract. This is a big one. And we have the mighty Holly Carroll.
Thank you, Commissioners. Holly Carroll for staff. The contract before you today is for community electronics recycling services in the amount of $100,000 with Techno Rescue LLC. The Douglas County Community Electronics Recycling Program has been administered through the use of tipping fees collected by the Sedalia landfill, which are restricted for landfill diversion services only. In 2013, a statewide ban on the disposal of electronics in landfills was enacted, requiring that local governments make a good faith effort to offer community recycling options. For the past 4 years, Techno Rescue has been the county's community electronics recycling vendor. However, that contract expired at the beginning of this year. A request for qualifications was posted and proposals were submitted by Techno Rescue, located in Aurora, American Recycling in Nebraska, and Tech Remove from Missouri. A committee reviewed the submissions and Techno Rescue was again selected as the county's preferred service provider. Techno Rescue is a veteran-owned, secure, and responsible R2 certified recycler. They partner with nonprofits like PCs for People to benefit the community, and they are also used by other jurisdictions for public electronics recycling. Since its inception in 2008, the program has been growing by leaps and bounds, and expenses have matched that growth. For many years, it has been the only free program offered in the state despite the rising processing costs, and events draw quite a crowd each year. To address the continued congestion and adhere to COVID-19 precautions, modifications were made to programming in 2020 that included offering 2 additional public collection events for a total of 3, and a drop-off option during the week of the August collection event. The purpose of the alternative donation method was to decrease on-site crowds, provide citizens with an opportunity to skip the line and summer temperatures, and gauge interest in traveling to the recycling vendor's office in Aurora at their convenience. 307 citizens took advantage of this alternative and donated 40,000 pounds over 6 days, also at no cost as part of the program. In order to comply with state regulations, remain within the allowable budget, and based on lessons learned from past programming, staff worked with Techno Rescue to develop the following 2021 recommendation to solely offer an on-demand drop-off services at their office located in Aurora. By providing on-demand donations, citizens will no longer have to hold on to TVs and other electronic devices all year in anticipation of waiting in long lines in warm temperatures for a single-day event. Citizens can drop off as many eligible devices as they wish at their leisure at no cost to them. Techno Rescue will take donations during regular business hours and 1 Saturday per month, the first of which is this coming Saturday if approved. All funding dollars will be spent entirely on the actual service rather than the extraneous costs that are needed to manage sizable public events such as supplies, significant staff time, dumpsters, restrooms, and the redirection of law enforcement and emergency resources. Those who are interested can still make donations to Douglas County Search and Rescue and the Sheriff's Office Community Safety Volunteers as part of the program via their secure links online. By dedicating our resources to a drop-off program, Techno Rescue can verify residency upon accepting donations and ensure that Douglas County funds are being directed to benefit Douglas County citizens. Based on telephone calls and social media, we believe that a portion of participants at past collection events were from outside of the county. Large public drive-through events require as many as 20 semi-trailers, forklifts, dozens of pallets, hired labor, and a multitude of supplies, whereas direct site drop-offs are far less labor-intensive and therefore cost less overall, enabling the county to stretch our dollars further. By applying these tools, commissioners will be able to continue to offer this valuable service at no cost to Douglas County citizens in 2021 while using only funds restricted for this use. Looking back on last year, where the program experienced a 155% increase and collected over 700,000 pounds, if that same weight had been dropped off at Techno Rescue, the fund would have seen a savings of $75,000, which would have been allocated to future programming or other allowable uses to benefit citizens. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has at this time.
Comments for Ms. Carroll?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for that presentation, Holly. I love all of the special projects that you are so great at organizing, but this one in particular is incredibly popular and so much fun to just see staff outside in the sunlight and working with citizens and getting to connect with them. It's no surprise to me that you found a way to make it even bigger and better, but yet save us more money and have more impact. So really a wonderful presentation. We know that that will continue continue to support programs such as law enforcement that have been supported in the past. So thank you.
Holly, I was really impressed to see the innovation applied this year of going ahead and having the drop off actually at the site as opposed to that mass event. So my question is, I think it was probably a piece of cake to advertise a mass event. Everybody come, drop your stuff off. How are we planning to? Do we have plans to communicate this out to the public, though, through the course of the year?
We do, sir. Our communications team is actually on standby. So if you were to approve this contract, they'll be preparing some public announcements that will actually go out fairly soon. The program could begin as early as tomorrow, and they will be communicating through social media as well as our website. We do have a whole web page that is created with links on it, as well as the information of the Saturdays when that will be open. And then throughout the year, as the funds start to draw down, should we get to a point where we are nearing the ends of our funds before the year ends, we'll be sure to make sure that the public is aware that they need to start to get their electronics in before we might have to shut down.
Okay, so I'm Joe Q. Public, living in Crystal Valley Ranch neighborhood in Castle Rock, and my TV goes out, and I go out in Best Buy and I grab a brand new one, but I still got my old TV. We're going to have that information on the county webpage to say, hey, here's what you can do, here's where you can take it, and it's free of charge to you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And Tri-County Health also has an A to Z recycling services guide. So if someone does not want to drive all the way up, they will also have some information on local places where they can recycle for a small fee.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Holly. Appreciate it.
So I have several items ready to go already. Is there a prize for the first one who shows up?
Yes.
We will be there shortly. So thank you so much, because I've been to all of these, and I'm not sure that we're only collecting from Douglas County residents. So this is a way to ensure that the funding that's coming from from Douglas County is only going to be used to benefit Douglas County residents, because driver's license are going to be checked. Is that right?
That's correct.
So it's another way to maintain our cash flow. So thank you for this, Holly. Are there any citizens here who would like to address the board on this topic? Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for a motion.
Madam Chair, if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve electronics recycling contract with Techno Rescue LLC in the amount of $100,000.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Carroll.
Thank you.
The county manager's report was included in the online version. Are there any commissioner comments before we end this business meeting?
Madam Chair, yes, I just have one. And, what we do is not always easy. And, I think this Board of County Commissioners are three for a reason. We don't always agree and bring different perspectives. But it's on days like today that I'm incredibly proud to serve with both of you. And I thank you for your service to our community.
I think we earned our pay today. No other comments.
I have one quick one, because even though we've gotten some snow and we're supposed to get more snow this week, we know that drought is going to be a word we're going to hear way too often this year. And the county /mulch site opened on April 3rd. This is the one in Castle Rock at 1400 Caprice Drive. It is open on Saturdays only from 8 to 5 through October 30th. The county also maintains a /mulch site year-round on Saturdays from 8 to 4:30 p.m., 2.5 miles north of Deckers. So you don't want to load up your car and go all the way down there with your stuff. But if you're in that area where the forest is and you want to be keeping your property clear, we have that available for you year-round. Acceptable items at both sites include tree limbs, loose pine needles, shrubs, brush with a maximum length of 6 feet, and maximum diameter of 12 inches. Please note that all loads must be covered upon arrival at the /mulch site. You want everything that you put in your truck to get to the /mulch site. You don't want it blowing all over the highway on your way there. This is just another free service that the county offers, because we believe in doing everything we can to keep our county safe as the fire season comes up And this is one way that citizens can do it, and we provide a free way for them to put the refuge that they find off of their properties. So with that, this ends today's business meeting. And the next business meeting is on, I think, about the 27th, April 27th. So we'll see you back at the business meeting then, and the land use will start in just a minute. So I'm just